So like if you're not being productive when it comes to your health, just don't expect results. Because it's most likely when you let the ball drop on something, that's usually the result that you're letting drop as well.
There will never be a time where you get it all done. You must accept that in advance, because even if you did get it all done, there's always more you could do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was last week's live Q&A. I am afraid to give feedback because I am afraid to hurt people. I know that because that's something I definitely deal with. Today, for episode number 711, it is impossible to get it all done and why that is okay. Alan, this was your idea. Why?
Kevin and I were in the studio, and we always, every Monday, we talk a lot. We go deep, and we try to figure out what episodes would be most valuable for our listeners, because we're always, literally, we are staying up at night thinking about like what our listeners are going through, what our clients are going through, what we're going through, what do we want to talk about, what's going to really help change your life, what's going to help you get to the next level. And Kevin and I were talking, and I said something along the lines of this: I feel like people, our clients, listeners, I feel like they have this idea in their mind of a mythical land where they're going to get it all done, where they're going to wake up in the morning and they're going to write down things they want to get accomplished that day, and then they're going to like go to bed having checked all those things off that list. Now, is that possible? Yes. What I want to articulate on this episode and talk to Kevin about and talk to our listeners about is that actually isn't effective. And I want to explain why. Because a lot of people in the personal development industry, self-improvement industry, they talk a lot about how like I have my 3 main things for the day and I check those 3 things off. And it's like, that's not how it works. John Maxwell or Ryan Holiday, he says he has a flashcard in his pocket where he writes the 3 things, and as long as those 3 things are done, like he had a productive day. Guys, that's not true. And I don't want to call out Ryan Holiday, but like if he did do that, trust me, he's doing a bunch of other stuff too. Those are just the 3 things that he makes sure he gets done. That's why there's only 3, but there's a million other things he's doing throughout the day. And so this idea here of you're going to end up eventually getting to the point where you wake up in the morning and you write down the things you want to accomplish and your day goes smoothly and then you go to bed feeling accomplished. It's not real. And I want people to understand that, because you're trying to accomplish something that I think other people put on a facade to, like, for example, for me, if you're out there listening right now, you probably assume that I'm super productive. And I am very productive, but my days go off the rails sometimes. And the only difference between the old Alan who wasn't that productive and the new Alan who's more productive than he used to be is that now I get back on the rails quicker. I have systems in place that help me stay productive and focus on the important things. And this idea that you're going to set your day up in the morning and then accomplish that at night isn't real, because things are fluid, things change, things adapt. There's some reactivity with the proactivity. And like, for example, today I got a tick bite probably about a couple weeks ago, and there was a red ring around it. I don't know if it was a tick bite or not. It might have been a bug bite. But I need to go get blood work today to see and make sure that I don't have Lyme disease. And that's right in the middle of my afternoon. And I didn't know about that until after my doctor's appointment Monday. And so things change, things adapt. I had traffic today. I just want everyone to understand that feeling like shit about your own productivity constantly is not only bad for you, it's going to keep happening if you have a poor understanding of what real productivity looks like. And so the very last thing I'll say until we get into the meat of this is there will never be a time where you get it all done. You must accept that in advance, because even if you did get it all done, there's always more you could do, because throughout that day you have high awareness. It's like, okay, well, I did 5 prospecting calls today like I said I would, but you could have done 6, you could have done 7, you could have done 8. And let's say you did 3. It's like, well, that's better than none. The goal isn't to have this perfect day. There's no such thing as a perfect day. Here's what you do. You design a perfect day, And then you get closer and closer and closer and closer to perfect day, knowing you're never actually going to get there. And hopefully that makes sense.
I had a call the other day, or no, somebody texted me. One of my clients texted me and said, I'm really struggling with like all these things I'm doing. I have a family and I'm trying to do this business thing and I have a newborn, and it's just like there's so much to do and I just feel like I'm not making any progress. And this kind of ties into what we're talking about, but I'm not going to go too deep into it. But I basically said this: you have to understand that as new priorities come up, you're going to have to react to things that you didn't plan on. And the things that you were proactively trying to accomplish are going to get swept under the rug for a little bit.
Yep.
I think the key is this: don't expect results in things that you're not doing. So, like, if you're not being productive when it comes to your health, just don't expect results. Because
Right.
it's most likely when you let the ball drop on something, that's usually the result that you're letting drop as well. So one of the ways, and I'm curious to what you say about this, but like, and I know it's not across the board, but one of the ways that I allow myself to feel okay with not, I don't want to say allow myself. I'm understanding I'm not going to get it all done.
Right.
One of
Ever.
the ways I help myself to deeply understand that is by saying like, but I also don't expect 1,000% of the results today.
Right.
Like, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, I don't expect the results.
The key here, Kev, is, and I don't know if I'm really great at explaining the concepts that I understand, and I'm trying hard to explain this. Okay. Here's an analogy that would work really well. Michael Jordan doesn't ever have a perfect basketball game. But Michael Jordan in high school versus Michael Jordan in 1997 when he got his, I don't know, 5th championship or whatever. Like, see, he was never having a perfect basketball game. Right. He was just getting better at basketball. That is what productivity is. I'm telling you, you will never have a perfect day. Just like Michael Jordan will never have a perfect game. He'll just have better games than he used to. Mm-hmm. And by the way, he'll have better games than the other players. And that's why he wins at basketball. And so what I want to get our listeners to really, really understand for their own well-being is I don't care if you have a perfect day. There's no such thing. The only thing I think you should concern yourself with is, are you more productive than you used to be? And will you be more productive in the future than you are now? And are you improving over time? And I think that's the key. I don't want you to have there's no such thing as 100% day. I mean, I have many clients, Kevin and I group coaching. We've put dozens of people through peak performance tracking. And for new listeners that don't know what that is, there's a percentage of total productive output that everybody gets. It's broken up into health, wealth, and love, and your morning, your afternoon, and your evening. And there's basically a daily dozen system of success. These are the 12 things that if you do them daily, your whole life will proliferate and health, wealth, and love will come your way. And then we have one KPI, which is like, what's the one thing that matters most? So Kevin's is listens. When listens grow, everything else grows for us. And so that's, the whole NOU team is on that system. All my one-on-one clients are on that system. Everyone in group coaching went through that system. No one ever has consistent 100%. And by the way, even if they do, they should up their system. Because that means if you're getting 100% day every day for 3 months, your system obviously isn't stretching you enough. Because we can all think of like when push-ups were really hard for us and now push-ups are easy because we practice them. It's like, well, if 5 push-ups is easy, you should try going for 7. If 10 push-ups is easy, you should try going for 15, because it's a progression. And I think that with productivity, it's the same thing. And again, the title of this episode, it's impossible to get it all done and why that's okay. Just understand that no one gets 100% days. Of the dozens of people doing peak performance tracking, no one gets 100% days forever. And if they did, I would literally sit them down and say, your system is obviously too easy. We can up the ante. There's always more you can accomplish. There's more you can give. There's more you can become. There's more you can learn. There's more that you can do. There's never going to be a time where you're done. The only thing that matters is, am I better than I used to be? Am I more productive than I used to be? Do I have better priorities and more clarity than I used to? Like Kevin's fairly relaxed day nowadays is 10 times more productive than when we first met.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting. I talked to Tarryn about this last night when she came home. She went to the Cape for work, and when she came home, I was like, it's interesting because I made this giant list. So you and I both have running to-do lists.
Yeah.
And I literally pull mine up and I say like, all right, what's the most important things to get done? Okay, cool. And everything else kind of falls. But yesterday I had like a lot of back office time. So I was just hammering down this list. What you don't understand, me in this scenario, is one of the things I had to do was text somebody on the team to set up something with a client. And okay, cool. That text to somebody on the team ended up the member of the team coming on my call with my client. So we did a pre-call to figure out exactly how we were going to talk to the client, which then resulted in a message after from the client that had to go to the. So it's like that one checkbox actually took me an hour and 45 minutes of conscious effort.
Yep.
Right. Another thing was like text somebody, but a text turns into a reply. Every email that you send is another email that comes back with a potential response. So just to second what Alan said, I think you have to find a way to make sure that you're actually measuring what you feel progress is. I had my checklist up and it's like, I got a lot of stuff done yesterday.
Right.
I was home with the cats all day. I fed the cats 6 times or 5 times, whatever. Like, I know that's not helping the podcast grow necessarily, to get done. But it's being productive.
Yeah.
That was my productivity. Right. The boys got to eat. The boys got to eat. So
and that's the thing. That was an important thing.
For sure.
It has to get done. I did the dishes this morning. I took Tucker out. Like all of those things have to get done.
But I had to, I like the fact that I had the ability to look back and say, like, you texted this person, you did this, you set this up, you sent this message, you sent this email, you got scheduled on the show, you took a look at your client's profile, blah, 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 blah. When at the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't feel like I did a lot. And it's like, and I got 100% of my system. So like yesterday was a really productive day.
Right.
I don't necessarily have anything to, you know what I have to show for it, Alan? More stuff to do today than I did yesterday.
Yeah, it's life.
Which is that weird thing. So don't, if you feel like you're behind, what would you say to somebody if they feel like I'm just behind, I'm constantly behind, like I can never catch up? Like, what do you say to that?
Hello, my name is Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and I'm host of the Business of Happiness podcast. When I met Kevin and Alan 2 years ago, I had no idea of how much impact they would have not only on the success for my business, but also on my life. They've given me enormous perspective and true strategies, true tactics to take in my everyday business plan and in my life plan to make an even greater success. Kevin and Alan, thank you so much. I couldn't even begin to express my gratitude for all you've done for me. And if you're looking for similar mentorship, I highly recommend these incredible experts at the Next Level University.
That person, okay, fire question, Kev. Micro struggle actually leads to macro success. So if your day-to-day life is challenging you, and I'll just use peak performance tracking. So, okay, I'll use you as an example. So Kevin is an entrepreneur who has a very large mission to bring holistic self-improvement to the masses through a podcast and having the most successful podcast in the self-improvement industry in terms of positive impact. Big mission, okay? Sitting on the couch eating Cheetos is not going to do it, right? So he has to be productive. So let's start there.
I wish it would.
Yeah, right. He has a daily dozen. I don't know how many tasks in your system. Your
16.
System of success, 16. 16 on his peak performance tracking. And then on top of that, he has a rolling to-do list. And I say rolling because it adapts, it evolves. I have a rolling MVT list, most valuable tasks. Okay? I have what's called above the line and below the line. So certain tasks are above the line, certain tasks are below the line, aka the back burner. And then sometimes the back burner tasks become more urgent. Sometimes they stay there forever and eventually they leave.
How do you know when? That was a question I wanted to ask. When I find myself going through my to-dos, it's like, this has been on here for 3 months. It's not it's going. Like, it's probably going. If it's important, it'll pop its head back up. It'll whack them all back up. How do you decide?
Exactly what you just said. You have to use your intuition and you have to rate it in comparison to the other things you're doing. This is really awesome conversation, Kev. So Warren Buffett says that the key to his success is when 100 great opportunities are brought to me. I say no 99 times. But here's the thing. He's Warren Buffett. There's a lot of people out there that are listening that don't have 100 great opportunities coming to them. So if you're in that place like Kevin and I used to be, like Kevin and I's productivity is way different now than it used to be because now we have a lot more inquiry. We have a lot more demands on our time. We've become more valuable, and so a lot more people are coming into our orbit. So what used to be a back burner task, or what used to be a top MVT, most valuable task, actually is a back burner task. I mean, we have a list of Jeffings a mile long that, okay, for example, the website right now, it's good. It's got a lot of improvements it needs, but it's not as important or urgent as the other things Kevin and I are doing. So Kevin and I each have 24 hours in a day. We sleep 8. That leaves 16 waking hours. We need at least 3 hours for R&R and recharge. And that's another 13 hours. We have relationships. We have pets. We have households. We have, intimate
Fitness.
partners. We have fitness. And so at the end of the day, you only have so many hours in a day. And by the way, everyone's that way. Now, I want to caveat that with we have an amazing team. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want to say we only have, 16 hours in a day, because technically with our team, we can multiply that. And that's a whole nother episode. But in terms of how do you determine what tasks are most important, it all depends on your core aspirations, core values, and core beliefs. We have a MIM score, MIM-L, mastery, impact, money, and love. If it's a 10 out of 10 for mastery, a 10 out of 10 for impact, a 10 out of 10 for money, and a 10 out of 10 for love, Kevin and I will be there. If Emilia and Tarryn say, hey, there's this amazing speech coming up, we're going to talk on relationships, we're going to make 10 grand, and you're going to be in front of 1,000 people, and you're going to learn a ton, and you're going to master your craft, and you're going to impact thousands of people, we're going to be there.
Perfect.
Why? Because it's a 10 out of 10 mastery, 10 out of 10 impact, 10 out of 10 profitability, and 10 out of 10 for love, because we're doing it with our amazing partners. But here's the thing, relative to our other tasks.
Right.
See, Jay Shetty says no to our podcast. He hasn't actually, but I'm assuming he would, not because our podcast isn't valuable, but because it's not a 10 out of 10 for him. Because most of the opportunities, if he has to choose between Oprah's show or Next Level You, he has to choose Oprah.
Yeah.
Because he cares about impact and profitability and mastery. And Oprah's got a bigger show by at least, a couple X bigger. But that's how you decide. It's all relative to your important stuff. At the beginning of my fitness journey, it was like I had a lot of time. So, supplementation and all that, I spent a lot of time studying that. I wouldn't do that now. I've got too many other priorities that are far more important than whether or not I got my creatine in today, and so it's important to be discerning, but discerning at the level you play at.
And it's interesting too, because you talked about the list of Jeffings that started as the 25 Jeffings.
Yeah.
And I think when we went through it last time, I think it had like 149 or something. So we are intending on doing it more often, but we'll go through it every once in a while and say like, oh, you know what? A lot of these things are unconsciously getting done because we're doing other things. So like in order to do this thing, we had to do these 4 things.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too, is like,
and then some of them, it's like, we don't need to do that anymore.
Right.
That
it doesn't exist
of itself. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or we went in a different direction.
And then there's some things where it's like, we can't delete that. Let's keep that on there because we need to remember that in the future. That does have to get done eventually, just not necessarily right now. And just so everyone else knows, and this is a different conversation, we also assign a champion. We assign a champion of like, okay, here's the task, here's the project, here's the whatever. So Alessandro is the champion of Next Level Web Solutions. So anything website wise, Alessandro is the champion, right? And then he asks Kevin and I for support, but he champions that effort. And what that means is you lead the charge type of thing. Kevin champions the podcast. So like it's up to Kevin to make sure all these episodes get up on time. And so if they don't, listeners, you know who to blame. No, I'm kidding. Honestly, I was probably being late because I didn't plan for construction. But that's the thing. Productivity is a skill that you can spend a lifetime mastering. Just remember that, like, if you have big goals, you're going to have to learn productivity. You're going to have to study productivity. You're going to have to, I mean, I remember a time where Kevin and I didn't track, well, I remember a time when I didn't track any of my habits many, many, many years ago. Now, every team member tracks their habits. I was on the phone with a client yesterday, and she was talking about this one woman who's on the other end of the compound effect in real estate and how she just gets referrals on referrals on referrals on referrals with very little effort. And I said, well, I bet you she's been in real estate for over a decade, huh? She said, yeah, 14 years. And she's like, how did you know that? I'm like, well, it's obvious. You know, she's been around a long time. People know what she does. They identify with her. It's a certainty thing. You're not going to buy Sam's Cola. You're going to buy Coca-Cola because it's been around longer. You're more certain that it's good, right? And so the point I was making with that story, though, is basically if that person doesn't ever track habits. And I was telling my client this. I said, you have big real estate goals? This system that we just created, this daily dozen, is world class. And I'm telling you, world class. Like, there are very few people in real estate, I swear to you, who have a system this good. If you did this for 14 years consistently, you would have way more referrals than that person. I told her it won't even be close. But who wants to do that system for 14 years, right? And hopefully she will. But that's the thing, is like, you're never going to get it all done, and that's okay. There's no such thing. You're never going to be like, oh, now I'm good. You're never going to be like, oh, now I'm in shape. Now I'm mobile enough. Now I'm fit enough. Now I'm healthy enough. Now my relationship's good enough. It has nothing to do with, there's no end date. The only question is, am I more productive than I used to be? Am I getting more productive as time goes on? You're going to have highs, lows, ebbs, and flows. You're going to have good days and bad days. But is the trend line up? Very last thing I'll say is, in peak performance tracking, everybody's productivity is cyclical. Everybody's. But their trend line is either up or down. And a trend line is basically like, is the average up or down?
I think my Wi-Fi might be jeffing a little bit, just FYI. If I'm skipping, that is why. But it shouldn't be like that on the episode because I'm recording this. I think that just understanding that with clarity, the most important things. I think it starts with that. It starts with, what are the most important things for me to get done that's going to move the needle, and focus on that.
And realize that changes as you evolve. That will always change from day to day.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't know. It's interesting because I think now, like, we talk a lot about PPT and tracking habits and all that stuff, and it seems like very basic and simple to us at this point. You probably, because you've been doing it for a lot longer, but I can't speak to how impactful it is. It's just, there's something different about when you wake up in the morning and you know exactly what you're supposed to do and why you're supposed to do it. It helps you stay accountable. It's like, it's just a game changer. And if you see results that we have, it's because we've been doing that behind the scenes. Alan longer than I by far, but we've been doing that behind the scenes consistently. Mm-hmm. That adds up over time. If you're seeing people who have results that you want, one, they've been doing it longer. Two, a lot of people get lucky. Like, they just do. Yeah. Right place, right place, right time.
Episode right there.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
So don't necessarily assume that they're doing things better than you. They've been doing different things longer.
Yeah.
More often than not.
If you're going out to dig for oil and someone digs their third hole and strikes oil,
right?
Like, that don't try to reverse engineer that success. That you know, that might not happen. Instead, become a better oil digger, if that makes sense. Yeah. Very last thing, Kevin and I have never announced this yet, but Next Level U Mobile, eventually everyone will have access to peak performance tracking, and it'll be a membership model similar to Ramwad. By the way, Kev, Ramwad is an app that we both use for our mobility. Yeah. But peak performance tracking will basically be in an app called Next Level U Mobile, where you get to be the next level version of yourself and track your habits mobily. So I just wanted to announce that. It's exciting. It's in the future. There is no deadline yet. But it's exciting for sure.
And if you're looking for that, is a lot of what group coaching is. We'll teach you, we will help with your PPT, we will set it up, customize it, help you get clear on what you should be doing. What are the most important inputs to get that you want? When is that, September 7th?
September 7th.
So
from
we are
6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yep.
That'll be group number 4.
Group number 4.
Boom. Yep. And then also nextleveluniverse.com. If you click the courses tab, we have our What It Really Takes to Get to the Next Level course. Cheap, $47, super, super valuable. If you do not find value in the first 30 days, just send it back and we will send your money back. Cash. We'll put it on a pigeon and send it your way.
Yeah, on an owl. Next Level group coaching, Kevin already mentioned it. We had someone who is a one-on-one client of mine and a dear friend, actually, Emilia's close friend, who I met, and she's become a close friend. She just gave us a testimonial, and she said, by far, worth the money alone is the peak performance tracker. She's like, I still use it. Like, even if I didn't work with Alan, I would still use it. It's amazing. She said it's the best tool she's ever had for productivity. Let Kevin and I help you reverse engineer your finish line so that you'll finally feel like you're accomplishing your goals. Because here's the thing. Winging it feels like shit. It's like, oh, am I even getting anywhere? Why aren't I winning? The accountability of group coaching and having a peak performance tracker, it's going to change your life. The $97 a month just for the tracker, it's worth it. And by the way, we don't shut it off. Once you have it, it's yours forever. I literally send you your own copy after group coaching, regardless of whether or not you work with us ever again. So go to nextleveluniverse.com. We're only taking 10 people, and we've already got several people who have applied. Please apply as soon as possible and get in immediately.
Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, our next episode that you will hear tomorrow, episode number 712, should your relationship always be 50-50? So we'll be talking about, when times get rough, sometimes somebody doesn't get their needs met. And if you go into a relationship understanding that, look, my goal is to improve my capabilities as a partner and to continue to improve the way I can love you and show up, relationships are about growth, and growth requires conflict. So there's always going to be some form of, maybe I'm doing more, maybe I'm doing less. How do we have a conversation? How do we communicate over that? We love you. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. And as always, we do not have fans. We have family.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.